everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be making an A7, which is a 5x7, and it's going to be a gatefold. Lots going on. So let's talk about what we're using. I have these Sketchy Florals, stamps and dies. Haven't used that yet, so I'm super excited to play with that. We're also going to be using the vintage tin tile. This is older. It's an older foiling plate, so I'll turn on my system. We also have our modern embossed A7 panels. You know, I love those. We're bringing in the Perfect Pastels Vellum. And then we also have some glimmer foil that is the color Opal. And it's a little bit hard to tell which side you're supposed to be using, but I'll give you a little trick for that. So I've got out my quick cutter. And as you can see, I've got smaller pieces because I want to keep all those together. And I tape everything back down. Obviously, the foiling part, they say the pretty side is going to be facing up, but this is kind of see-through, so it's hard to tell. And so I've got all that sitting up, and in order to know which side is going to be the one that actually foils to the cardstock, pay attention to how your foil curls. Okay, and so if it's curling in, that's how you're going to know. So I'll build my sandwich, which starts with my cardstock. Then I've got my foil, which the curling side goes down, and then I'm going to put my plate on top and stick that down with a little bit of mint tape, and then I'm going to put that right on top of my Glimmer hot foil system while that is trying to heat up. And while it's trying to heat up, I'm going to do my stamping. So I've just got a piece of Express It cardstock that I have put into my Misty. I'm going to ink up my image using some blackout ink. These are a good combination for alcohol marker coloring, which is what I plan to do. And I am going to stamp that twice. Now, you'll see that that green light came on telling me my system is ready. So I hit the timer button. And then once that timer is done, it'll go solid. So I'll pop that out and I'll stick my plates on top. And then I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6 machine. Peel off the plate, and then careful because that's going to be hot. Then I'm going to slowly peel back my foil. Now, I didn't get the perfect foiling, but honestly, I'm okay with this because this is a background. I kind of like the grungy look that it gives. And but that opal gives it just that nice shimmer. So I'm going to take out my modern embossed A7, the size that I want, cut that down, run that through my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to take this piece and measure it because this is a gatefold and this is going to go on the front of my card. This measured 4 1/4 inches. So I'm going to cut that at 2 1/8 inch. So right down the center. And then I'm going to set that off to the side and we're going to do our coloring. So I'm going to bring in my sketchbook, show you that I've kind of popped out the colors that I plan to use. This is my color palette. This is the inside of that new sketchbook that Trinity Stamps came out with this last month. And I am really enjoying it. It makes things super easy because I do like to think ahead. I like to sketch out. And then I'll have a record of how I made these cards and those color palettes that I can always go back to. I wasn't always good about putting the color palettes down. Which, that's kind of a bummer, but now I can do that. And then I'll have this book to be able to go back to and look back on some of those color combos that were some of my favorites. All right, I'm bringing in my Olo markers and I'm going to be real with you. I do not love how I colored this image. And I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if I just didn't do a very good job of picking the colors. I'm able to work with it, and because that's just what I do. I don't like to start over. Just once it's down, I mostly like to work with what I got going on. Very rarely will I take a piece and throw it away, because I just like to see where it ends up. And I will say that the end result of this card had me super happy. So like I said, I'm putting all those colors up on the screen for you. And I'm going to try and make this one more of like a mustard color. So I'm coloring this flower. And these flowers really are fairly easy to color. And I'm doing some stippling here on the center of this flower. I didn't have any particular flowers in mind when I started coloring. So there's no realism here. I'm just going with what makes me happy. Bringing in another color to do a little bit more stippling on the center of that flower. And then we're going to move on to the center of this flower, almost like a sunflower. Probably could be a daisy, but again, this isn't realistic really, so color how you want. This next flower, we're starting with some reds. So I've got that R 5.3. And this was another one that I wasn't thrilled with how I did it. Those are very vastly different, those colors, that R 5.3 and that R 1.7. That's going to be a little bit of a bear to blend. but I'm going to do my best. So I'll bring in the 1.8, which makes it even darker. And then I'll try and go back and work those colors backwards. And then I finally decide to bring in, I think it's the R5 point, well, you'll see here in a second. But I'm not loving how that all blended. So I'm going to go and grab a mid-tone. And that color will be the 5.5. I didn't put the cap up there, but it is the 5.5. And after I brought that in, I was much, much happier with how that turned out. So then we're going to do all the rest of those outside flowers using our reds. We've got the R5.3, and then we'll bring in that R5.5. So there's a bunch of cute little flowers hanging out here on that all, surrounding this little bouquet of flowers. And it's so cute. I have seen the team do some really beautiful coloring job with this, but these are the types of flowers that are fairly forgiving, to be honest with you. They're kind of detailed, and so you don't have to have it all figured out. I am really good at just kind of slapping down some color, so I imagine you could be too, and then having it work out okay. And oftentimes that does have something to do with the images that you're choosing. So now for the greenery, we've got our BG. So these are our blue greens. We've got 7.2. I'm going to do all of the leaves this color. Just make it a little bit easier on myself. And then we'll bring in the next color up, which is our BG 7.3. And then we'll add a little bit of flicking of that color on each of those leaves. And then we'll end up blending that out. Now, like I said, I don't know. I wasn't thrilled with how this all turned out. Maybe it's because that was that one purple flower in the center that didn't really go with a whole lot more. So what I decided to do was bring in some more of that purple. And I think that tied it in. So you've got all those kind of little flowers all around the edge as well, little sprigs of flowers. So I brought in and started just doing some stippling, some pouncing of those violet colors that I used previously on that center, and I feel like that really did a good job of tying that purple in and making it not just one giant purple flower, and that's that. All right, so now we'll bring in the matching die. We'll tack that down with a little bit of mint tape and run that through the die cutting machine. I am going to do it again. So what I mean is I'm going to use that die and just cut some out of the white, and you'll see why in the future, the reasoning for that. But I've die cut that out of, the one piece that I stamped and colored, and then we just die cut it out of some white cardstock. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my base ready. So this measured 10 inches by 7 inches, and I am scoring that at 2.5 inches at both of those sides, because 2.5 plus 2.5 equals 5, right? And so our card is a 5 by 7. So that's going to match up in the center if you did it right, and I'm kind of wondering if I didn't do it right. But I will say that Teflon ergonomic bone folder is an absolute game changer. I have always loved this tool. That gives you some crisp lines. And now we can start doing a little bit of assembly. So now I'm going to take those panels, or that panel that I made that I cut in half, and we're going to glue that down using a little bit of Crafty Gluefriend. I just love that purple, and that opal on it is beautiful. And we'll line those up. Did a pretty good job there. But before I go too crazy adding things to the front, I am going to need to stamp in the center. So I'm going to pull out my flowers again. I have a big stamp block, and we are going to ink that up using some Speckled Egg Distress Oxide ink. Now, the Distress Oxides are actually formulated to do some stamping, so that's why I chose that one. And it stamps down very well. And so our center's almost done. Or the inside of our card's almost done. So here I am. I've decided to bring in the Trinity gold palette. Now the palette that's in the store is the same. It just looks different. And you do get the same colors that you have here. They're just, what you're buying is a little bit different as far as size. And I'm going to use a little bit of that gold and splatter that on the ends here just to bring some of that gold back in. Splatter will cover a multitude of issues. I say that all the time. And then I'm going to ink up my sentiments. So we've got thank you and you brighten my day. And then we've got matching dies for those as well in true Trinity Stamps fashion, which I love. So I'll run that through that die cutting machine and we'll get all those die cut out. And then we can start doing some more assembly. I went ahead and die cut out of those Perfect Pastels Vellum. I used the lavender and I used that large branch die, and I die cut that out. Just little pieces of this one because that's going to go on that upper corner. I didn't really need a full one of that. And then I did cut a full one out on the bottom. I'd cut it out as well of some just regular vellum, but I don't end up using that one. So we'll save that for another project. I'll glue down my sentiment on the inside that says, "You brighten my day." And then we're going to take our reverse tweezers and do little dollops on our leaf. Yes, typically this glue or any glue that you would use on vellum is going to show through, but we had a lot going on that background, and this is going to be kind of covered, so I'm not worried about it. Oftentimes with vellum, I'll try to either turn it into a sticker, or you try to cover the entire back with whatever adhesive you're planning to use. But this stuff, you really can't see it too much. It's not distracting. And so just little dots of our Crafty Gluefriend on the back, and then I can attach down this particular large branch. Now when we assemble this card, I am going to end up attaching our big bouquet only on that left-hand side. So that is why we've got, and I've got this upside down right now, but that's why I'm not as concerned about these little pieces sticking through on, that's technically the upper left-hand side that I'm gluing these pieces down to. I don't know why I have it flipped, but I'm going to attach down our grouping of flowers to that left-hand side, and only to the left-hand side, because obviously if you attach it to both sides, it's not going to open. So you have to only attach it to one side. So here, this is the right way. So you see our upper left-hand side has just little pieces, and our lower right-hand side has that full branch. And that only makes a difference because when you open it, that lower right-hand side will show. So I'm looking at that, and I'm really happy with how that's going to look. So now I'm going to pull in the other one that I die cut out just out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to glue that to the back of this one. That is there's two reasons for that. One, to cover up all of that coloring that shows through, and two, to make our piece a little bit sturdier. You could even add one more if you really, really wanted to, but I like how sturdy this now is, and it covered up all of that coloring that shows through your cardstock. So now I'm going to bring in our double-sided adhesive strips, and these are so easy to manipulate, especially if you peel off your release paper before you put it down. So I'm going to peel this one off of that holder, and then I'll peel off the release paper, and then I can take these and I can just kind of manipulate that all around those die cut parts of our die. And this one took 3 of those strips, so not a lot. And again, you only want to keep it to one side because that's what you're going to attach down to the front of your card. And these adhesive strips are nice and strong, so I'm not worried about that coming off. So we'll attach that down to that left-hand side. Nothing shows. It's all great, and it opens perfectly, but I can't stop there. Of course, we have to attach down our thank you. And so I'll use my Crafty Gluefriend and those reverse tweezers, and we'll put thank you right on top of the bouquet. I like how this looks, and I love that scriptiness of our thank you. Always in need of thank yous. All right. And then, of course, I have to add embellishments because why not, as if there isn't enough going on here. I've brought in our gold sparkle spots, and these are virtually flat. These are so mailer friendly. I can't help but use them. I love them. They add this beautiful sparkle. They're completely flat. I'm using my pickup stick along with that Crafty Gluefriend to attach all of those down, but they just don't add any bulk, and it makes them wonderful. Now, obviously, sometimes I like a little bulk on there, but this is great considering all that's going on. Once I get that last one attached, that's going to finish off our card for today. I love how this turned out, even better than what it looked like in my mind. So I'd love to know what you think about it. Leave a comment down in the comment section telling me what you think, or if you want to give an attempt at a gatefold. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.